All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Make sure you check out Pig and a Pickle. Two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, Dane Brugler of The Athletic does a great job of breaking down a lot of the NFL prospects. And, his breakdown on Cameron Latu for the 49ers is really an interesting one. This is the Alabama tight end that the 49ers took on day 2 of the draft. It was a surprising pick on a lot of fronts just because I thought there were higher rated players and maybe even higher rated tight ends still on the board. But the Niners really like Latu. Now, let's talk a little bit about what Dane Brugler included in his report on Cameron Latu. Latu's a 6'4", 242-pound tight end who was born in Southern California, born in Torrance, moved to Chisholm, Minnesota at the age of 2, has 2 brothers, and grew up playing football and rugby in the state of Minnesota. And his family would move to Salt Lake City, Utah when he was in the 7th grade. His mom worked for Delta Airlines. And so, that's basically where he played college ball in Salt Lake City. He went to Olympus High School, played defensive end and linebacker, and was a 3-year letterman. Had a breakout junior season in high school in 2016 where he had 9 sacks, and he also wrestled. So this was a guy, and he wasn't just a wrestler, he was an accomplished wrestler. He finished 5th at the Utah State Finals as a sophomore in wrestling. So great athlete, 4-star high school recruit, originally committed to going to BYU. He was going to stay there in Utah and then decommitted and decided to choose Alabama over a group of schools. He was considering the second go round after decommitting to BYU, Nebraska, USC, the UW Huskies, the Utah Utes. He was considering going to those schools and chose Bama over all of them. He originally committed as a defensive end. He was recruited by Tosh Lapoy, who actually was at Cal for a while, and then, of course, jumped to Alabama, one of the preeminent recruiters in the country, now working for Bama. And Tosh brought him to Alabama. In fact, Tua Tagovailoa hosted Latu on his campus visit. And Alabama, he starts there on the defensive side of the ball. Well, 1 year in, and they moved him to tight end. So, they said, you know what? You're not a defensive lineman anymore. You're not a defensive end. We got too many of those guys. We'll move you to tight end. So Latu's an interesting guy. He's got a twin brother who plays for Division II St. Cloud State, also a football player. He's a mature guy. He's graduated. He already has his degree. He played in the Senior Bowl this year as well. 9.5-inch hands, 4.78 is what he ran on in the 40, which is not a great 40 time by any stretch. But when you watch him, you can see that he is really smooth as far as his receiving ability. Very smooth player. Definitely, he's a guy that he's very coordinated. He's very fluid in and out of his breaks, sinks those hips, looks really fluid. He's got short area quickness. He's got soft hands as a receiver. And then he also has physical hands as a blocker. So what I also like about him is that he didn't make a lot of mistakes at Alabama. He only had 1 penalty in all of 2022. But definitely he's more of a receiver than a blocker, in my opinion, but he's improving as a receiver. Now, Bill O'Brien was the Alabama offensive coordinator. He used him inside. 45% of Latu's snaps came inside. 55% came with him flexed outside the tackle box. So he used him both inside and outside. 80.4% of his Alabama receptions resulted in either a touchdown or a first down. His bust out year really was this year. He had 8 touchdowns in 2022, which was an Alabama record, I believe, for a tight end. So just an interesting player. He's got the basketball background. He's got the wrestling background. He's got the rugby background. He's an all-around athlete. I think there's a lot of development that can happen here because he has concentrated on other sports. He does have that fluidity, and you can see that fluidity in his route running. He's smooth. He's a smooth route runner. Some guys are real mechanical, real choppy. This guy's got a smoothness to his overall receiving game and his route running ability that's kind of noticeable. So, definite smooth receiver who can catch the ball, good size hands. As far as the 4.78, I felt like he played faster than that, but you can see very coordinated, quick in a short area. And they didn't take him off the field and try to put a faster guy out there when they wanted to flex him out. They flexed him out and they threw it to him. Then he also blocked in line against some of the best defensive end prospects in the country reside in the SEC. So interesting athlete, a little bit of a projection. I got to be honest. Niners are rolling the dice here. They feel like they've got an athlete with some size and some pass catching ability and some his basketball player fluidity. And he looks like a natural route runner. And I think they just feel like, you know what, if he focuses on football, if he really concentrates on development, that he can be a guy that can be an all-around tight end for them. It's going to be a very, very interesting competition at tight end for the 49ers. One, how many are they going to keep? Are they going to keep 3 or are they going to keep 4? George Kittle's going to be number 1. And then Braden Willis really looks good to me. I would say Willis is going to make the team. I mean, he's a real try-hard blocker. He's got nice receiving skills. Then you have 2 incumbents. You got Charlie Warner, who, has been a key cog for them on special teams, on the hands team, on some of the coverage unit teams. He's physical. He's a tenacious, lock-on blocker that just keeps those legs driving. Has he shown the Niners enough in a short amount of time to give him a roster spot? And then there's Ross Dwelley. Ross Dwelley is another guy, huge special team contributor for the 49ers on a number of different teams. But he's not really a blocker. You look at Ross Dwelley, he's got great hand-eye coordination. He's a terrific route runner. He's almost like a jumbo receiver in some ways. But you wonder how this competition is going to come down. So I look at it as Willis battling Dwelley and Latu battling Warner, and probably the losers get cut. Now, there's always a chance that the Niners go with the incumbents and put one of these young tight ends on the practice squad and kind of retain their inventory of players. We've seen teams do that before, but you know what? My sense of it is that Latu and Willis are going to be able to beat out Ross Dwelley and Charlie Warner. So I personally, I would not be surprised at all if the tight end group is George Kittle, Cameron Latu, and Braden Willis, with Dwelley and Werner cut. So we're going to find out. Obviously, it's going to be a great competition this summer. But, I mean, I have a hard time picturing the 49ers cutting Latu after they invested a 3rd-round draft choice in him. Seems kind of high to be cutting that guy loose. So he's there to compete with Charlie Warner. And I think in some ways he gives the Niners more than Warner. I think Warner's a try-hard blocker, but I don't think he gives you much as a receiver. I think Latu's got more upside as a receiver and is going to give you a kind of a more versatile all-around look. So I would say Latu has the upper hand on Warner. And then I think Willis, who's got the gold helmet designation, meaning the Niners love him, his competitive fire, his blocking ability, his receiving ability, his versatility, I think he's going to wind up beating out Ross Dwelley for that last spot as the receiving tight end. So to me, this is maybe the most fierce competition that you're going to see in 49er camp come July and August. Why? Because you got 2 guys there who have special team, they're special team contributors and they're valuable to the 49ers. And yet you've got 2 real nice tight end prospects that I think probably have more upside than the 2 incumbents. So it's going to be and so the two incumbents obviously know the offense better. They know the ins and outs of pro football better. And the question is, can Cameron Latu and Braden Willis, beat out Warner and Dwelly? I think they can, but we're going to find out in August. Anyway, hope you enjoyed our 49er video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin, Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. And thanks to all of you for supporting the Krueg Show on YouTube.